Hello everybody, this is the Scottish Axolotl here, and today we are playing Kerbal Space Program. I have played this game before, and honestly I find it really fun. I don't really know what else to say to that. One thing that is worth noting though is that I actually played this game while streaming on my Discord server. This also means that the audio of this has been cut, of my voice. Meaning this is actually pre-recorded footage. Yes, I actually am doing this. So this is pre-recorded. I'm just going to be giving a little voiceover as we play. I went for a... Well, you can see me looking at the careers now. I went for a science career. Named it Science Away. I was debating on changing it to the UK Space Program because Scottish. But I decided to keep it to the Kerbal. The little Kerbal flag because I like it. We're just going to play on normal. Yes, that seems fair. You can see me look at the difficulties. Yeah, there we go. And we're going to start. So we're loading. And here we are. Welcome to the game. This is the lobby. You can see all our lovely buildings here, like our launch pads, hangars, the tracking station, the vehicle assembly, research and development. You get the point. And as well as the recruitment station. And we're just going to jump into the vehicle assembly. The footage gets sped up. Oh yeah, that's another thing. This footage is sped up, but the audio isn't. So if you hear, yeah, that clicking sound, but it's not actually synced up to anything, that's why. Because I was an idiot, and instead of just using music, I thought, hey, let's just use the sound from the video. I'm really stupid sometimes. Hopefully next time I do this, I will just, like, record the music that is played during this part. Like, just for like an hour. And I'll just have that saved in a file and I use that whenever I need to. Yeah, so you can see me assembling our first rockets here. It's nothing fancy really, it's just a very, very simple rocket. You can see me figuring out the controls again. I have played this game before, it just took me a while to get used to the controls. So we're just going to build our first little rocket. Aimed at Jimmy. It's my child. I was mostly messing around with stuff here, just checking things. You know the gist. We have Jebediah Kerman, a brave pilot. Anyway, we're gonna go to launch. The thing about this rocket is, this rocket was actually, well, as you can see, very fast. And at this time, I had actually forgotten to turn it. You can see I turned it on there, but at first I forgot to do it. So I was just like, oh no, this is very unstable. And I kind of backed a bit. But everything was fine, and we ended up getting to a decent height above the surface. Nowhere near above the atmosphere. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention what the whole point of this video is. Our final... Actually, I'll just let this play first. But our final goal is to have a full circularization of Kerbin, which is the planet that we inhabit in this game. I'm not going to spoil anything whether we managed to or not in the end of this video. Well, I mean, you could probably guess that yes, we did. Probably put it in the title. Haha. So there's no point in me saying that. But you saw us a little while ago there, we were just observing the grey goo. Now we are slowly accelerating, actually rapidly accelerating towards the surface of Kerbin. I nearly said Earth, it's Kerbin. We've deployed our parachute way too high in the atmosphere. That's a trend in this. I keep deploying the parachute way too fucking high because literally I have too much anxiety and don't trust myself. You see Jebediah, he's looking out of, I'm assuming, the little tiny window that's in the command pod, and wondering, the heck? He's flapping his alarms. Anyway, back to the actual message, so we can now see we are descending 20,000, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 11, 10, 9, 500, 400, 300, 200 meters as we slow our descent. 230 meters, 220 meters. You can see it's just time warping up now. This is just for us to land. So, indeed, there it is. That was the first flight. Pretty successful, all things considered. I will not lie. I mean, nothing blew up, so I'd call that successful enough. So we're just going to go back to the space center, and as you can see, it's there in the distance, and we can just recover that. We get all our science and our brave little pilot. You see me going back into the vehicle assembly briefly. And then I remembered, oh yeah, I have to research things. So I believe we didn't research basic rocketry, we researched this Engineering 101. And it's because it gives us more science modules, as well as a decoupler to do staging, and an antenna, which I, for some reason, used. I don't know why I used this. It was kind of pointless. Because you get more science if you keep the experiments. But you see, now we have our decoupler, we can add multiple stages. Ooh. Fascinating, isn't it? Yeah, you can see me just staging the rocket and adding this little antenna. Trust me, we do use this for like, I think, one mission. Losing some science in the process, but don't worry, my stupidity doesn't last. I eventually realize that, oh, we lose science when we do this. So for the rest of them, we kept the experiments. But there's our little, well, when you see it, well, you've already seen it, but you know what I mean. There it is, our new rocket. It's much bigger than the old one. Still tiny though. Well, for a rocket. It's actually pretty huge. But as you can see, we're about to throttle up in just a second. Oh, you can see how I was just finding all the hotkeys there. So that's one's the lights. Yeah, it's the gear action group. We're figuring out how to toggle SAS. And we're just going to throttle up. Well, I say throttle up, we're just activating the solid rocket booster. Because you don't throttle up these ones, they just go. You see the first stage successfully decoupled as we punch through the air at rapid speed. I should probably give credit to like other YouTubers who do this style of content. I watch Matt Lone, and he does videos like this where he plays Kerbal Space Program and voices over it after the fact. And honestly, I just thought it looked easy. Turns out it isn't, because you still have to play the damn game and still edit the video and stuff. But yeah. And having to do 2 separate recording sessions is yeah. However, if you do like this, then I probably will be doing it for the rest of my Kerbal Space Program, because I am planning on making this a series. Hopefully. We'll see. We'll see if my ADHD brain can cope. But you can see, we are now observing space. I'm not sure if we're in space yet, because fun fact, I didn't play this game properly. I played it in Sandbox and never learned anything. So, I have absolutely no idea when the margin of space is for this. Even though there is an atmospheric reader, however, I never really look at it. And I've only just now noticed it in this pre-recording. Frick. So I see we are now... We're still in the atmosphere, technically. You can see me spinning. For no reason, just because I could. I believe I was trying to get it to look at the Mun. Because, fun fact, that was our original mission. To get to the Mun. However, that would have taken far, far too long. You can see me trying to angle it to the Mun, and I still failed. You can see I transmit the data, stupidly. And you can see data aborting transmission. Don't worry about it, don't worry. We don't even use the transmission thing properly for very long, because it's pretty useless. But we're now going to point retrograde, which is the opposite from the direction you are currently traveling. Fun fact! That is not exactly what it means, but that's a basic enough explanation as to what retrograde means. It's basically the direction you are moving. Retrograde is the opposite direction. Prograde is that exact direction you are moving. I'm approaching retrograde because the capsule has an inbuilt heat shield on the bottom. That's a lie. It's just the whole thing's pretty heat resistant. It's just the fact that our science won't blow up this way. However, we did have no such need for this, because we were never moving fast enough to burn up, so it was completely fine. You can see there the Mun, from Jebediah's point of view. Our parachute has once again been deployed way too high in the atmosphere. Do I care? No. I'll probably keep doing it through the entire series, so don't worry. Don't worry though, I promise our next mission will be to try and get to the Mun. Why am I saying that? Anyway. I think it's because we didn't quite... Why am I putting on this fucking accent? We didn't quite get it this time, but promise you, we will get it next time. I don't know what the hell that voice was, but anyway, you can see us returning to the station. You see me looking around for a second to see if I could see it on the regular map screen. The answer is no. No, I couldn't. But you can see that there. That little monument. Yeah, that's a little Easter egg. Might see that later. But no. Right now, we have to go into the tracking station. We've got to find our untitled spacecraft and recover the vessel. And you can see the amount of science we got was far less than we should have. And that's because, again, I didn't keep the experiments. So we don't have enough for any of the more advanced ones, but we do have enough for basic rocketry, which gives us liquid fuel tanks, a liquid fuel engine, the swivel, as well as a larger solid rocket booster. And a fun fact with this game, liquid fuel engines are almost always better than solid rocket engines. I know that is not the case in real life, they both have their place in the real world, but in this game, just in general, liquid engines are a lot better, because they can be a lot more powerful and have a lot more fuel. But there's our new rocket that I just assembled really quickly, as you saw. We have the larger solid rocket boosters, as well as a liquid fuel engine now. So we should be able to go much, much higher. I'm still putting on the accent, I need to stop doing that. Anyway, we've got to turn SAS on, and then... just looking at Jebediah, and we can then launch the rocket. You can tell this is pre-recorded, can't you? Because I have no idea when things are going to happen now. I actually have a funny story. I originally recorded the voiceover of this actually like a week ago. However, I had a voice changer on and had no idea. So when I went back to rewatch the footage to make sure everything was okay, I start talking, and there's just this bloody robot voice. I don't know. I just found that really funny. A funny show of my incompetence as a YouTuber. But anyway, you can see we've now, on our final stage, that story aside, throttling up our liquid fuel engine as we punch through the atmosphere. And this was the first time that we entered space. You can see our apoapsis is nice and high. Apoapsis being the highest point above the planet, and periapsis being the lowest. We have not actually circularized yet, so periapsis doesn't exist, because these two only account in an orbit. Well, I mean, I guess your periapsis would still be there. It's just it's inside the planet. Because technically this is an orbit, just not a complete one. It's not an orbit around the planet, it's an orbit into the planet. I'm getting technical with this. This is all going in one ear and out the other, unless you're like a science nerd like me. Yeah, this is the moment where I realized that if you keep the experiment, you get more science. I was like, wait, hang on a second. I'm an idiot. You can see we've now kept the experiments, the antenna, Oh, messing around with my headphones there. Apologies. The antenna can now be retracted. You can hear the music that shows we are now in space. Isn't it glorious? All the stars out bright. This game is actually very in-depth in the way. It's why I love it. Oh yes, you can see us spinning. Funny story about that. Spinning. Because I forgot about one thing in this game. The Kraken. And to anyone who has not seen any Kerbal Space Program content before, I should clarify, the Kraken is not an actual Kraken. It is just the name of a physics glitch that happens in the game that is very common. Where basically, the physics bug out, and to put it in a very blunt fashion, shit goes boom. And your craft typically ends up detonating or ripping itself apart. Or both. Usually both. But that will wait. That can wait. For now, we are re-entering Kerbin's atmosphere. You can see us burning up inside it. You can see me trying to spin. That was to try and keep the science equipment from blowing up. But I'm afraid I liked it a bit too much. You can see I heard an explosion there, and I got worried because I thought something had blown up. And luckily nothing had. There's the mun. Glorious, isn't it? As we deploy our parachutes. Once again, way too bloody high. However, I do not care. Now, remember what I said about the spinning? Yes, you see us spinning right now. Time warp is off, so everything's fine. Then I put time warp on. And thus, the Kraken claimed its first victim in this playthrough. Luckily, we can just revert to the launch pad and just launch again. This footage will now be sped up a lot because, well, we've already seen this. Well, mostly. Because I did do something different. And that was, I didn't angle this time. As you'll see. So I just went straight up. Because I realized that we did not have enough fuel to circularize. Again, that was one of the goals of this. And ended up being our final goal. Because I couldn't achieve the other one. But you can see we're just punching straight up through the atmosphere at high velocity. Moving at ludicrously high speeds. Too fast, actually, as we started to burn up, as you can see. So I had to lower the engine's thrust for a second for the last little bit. But now you can see our apoapsis is over double the height it was before. Before we reached 100,000 meters. Now we are at 250,000 meters above the surface of Kerbin. That is very high. And you'll see that comes back to bite me in the bum a little bit later. But for now, we are going to observe the mystery goo, keep the experiment. Log the temperature, keep the experiment. Don't know why I'm... Log the temperature, keep the experiment. Point retrograde and observe the surface of Kerbin. Isn't it beautiful? We can now just time warp really quickly. I realized I was pointing prograde there, which is not good. We don't want to be pointing prograde. But here's one thing I want to pay attention. Look at how fast we're moving. Yes. Sad to say, we lost our temperature log. Which means we lost that bit of science. But the grey goo survived, so I guess it wasn't a total loss. But yes, that's what I get for just pointing straight up and shooting a rocket into the air. Nothing good comes from just shooting a rocket straight up. As you can see, we're now just time warping until we reach the ground nice and safe. And I believe this time I decided to go on EVA. Yes. I don't know why I went on EVA, but I did. So you're just messing around with the controls. As we take his helmet off and put him back in the command module. I'm going to go to the space sensor. Don't ask me why I never just use the tracking station. I have no idea. We're just going to recover our vessel, collect our science, and leave this facility. We're going to go straight to the research facility. And I believe we did not have enough, so now I'm going to do something a bit silly, and that is an entirely liquid fuel single-stage rocket. Well, not quite. I believe I did that at some point, but not right now. This is even sillier. Anyone who knows anything about aerodynamics is looking at this and shaking their heads. And to all of you who don't know anything about aerodynamics and are wondering how this goes, as expected is the answer. As we tip, almost get blown up by the previous stage. You can see me, I was desperately trying to regain some control, and I just couldn't. I was like holding down the W key as hard as I could, trying to pitch up, and you could hear it like, deploy the parachute, deploy the parachute, deploy the parachute. The clicking sound of me desperately trying to deploy it. So instead I just decided to remove those side rockets and just go with this. However, you may notice this has even more fuel, which means it's going to go even higher. So what was my plan, you may ask? Because if I already blew up going at that height before, then how will going higher help me? See, that's the thing. I was planning to do a sort of circularization, but it didn't manage to get enough delta V, which is our average velocity per second. You know what delta V is. I'm not explaining stuff in this game anymore. Just interpret it yourself. I quit physics long ago. I don't have time for this. But you can see we have a very, very high apoapsis still. However, it's a lot more of a rounded orbit. Almost halfway around the world. And you can see, though, I have not staged this yet. It's because I actually left a tiny sliver of fuel left in it. And that was to try and slow us down, so that stuff didn't just completely explode. Did it work? Well, technically it worked. It did slow us down. However, and if you want to know the answer to this, however, I believe I'll just let the footage run after, we try and do our slow down burn. So you'll see me now throttle up that engine in just a second. in just a second. In just a second. Okay, apparently I'm just waiting and I'm seeing. Oh, there we go. There we go. The instant I stop waiting, of course. However, you may notice we are not decelerating. We are accelerating. Now moving at 200,000 meters, well, 2,000 meters per second, not 200,000. Jesus Christ! As our tail fins explode, as we start to very dangerously tip, our engine explodes. Then all of our science equipment and our antenna explode. But we're still moving way too fast. So I desperately tried to stage it. I desperately tried to deploy the parachute, but it was to no avail. No avail, I mean. And so Jebediah was killed. Except not really, because we can just revert it. Now I am going to build the giant liquid fuel rocket of my dreams. Yeah, I have actually no reason for this flight. I was just messing around by this point. I won't lie. This was not clever in the slightest. I was just, as some would say, cocking about. In ye olde Britain. But you can see I still left some liquid fuel inside it because now I was paranoid of completely detonating upon re-entry. So now we have enough liquid fuel to properly slow ourselves down. And I actually almost completely reversed our, well, direction. Completely reversed our velocity, I mean to say. You can see this footage just sped up incredibly fast. And it was because, again, it was just something really silly. However, the science I got from it was not silly. As you can see, we actually got some more stuff. It was now time to construct a new rocket. Ignore the fact that music is now sped up. I said ignore it. But now we have this little hatch to hide all our equipment. And we have a little barometric reader, as well as a heat shield, as well as these little drogue chutes, which are not useful at all, actually. You also even have these little heat shields. I never ended up using any, though. I originally had a plan to try and make these rockets reusable, but I scrapped it almost immediately because I realized that these would just probably detonate. And it's honestly cheaper because this is a science run. We're not worrying about expenses. And we're just gonna waste no time at all throttling up our rockets. First stage gone. Second stage gone. The third stage. So you can see us now able to go much higher above the atmosphere to collect our scientific data. Sorry if I'm being a bit dull, I am actually running out of things. And with our little drogue chutes, we will stop much, much better. However, we stop a little too well. It was taking forever to descend, so I just cut the drogue chutes. I also keep doing this, but for some reason, don't remove them. And it was more of a just-in-case scenario. Because see, we now have general rocketry and stability, which gives us more rocketry pods, as well as better ailerons. You may notice this footage is now at normal speed. Oh, good golly. I wonder why. You will find out. Because, well, you'll find out. You see, I tried to add a nose cone to this, however, it didn't work out because the nose cone was not built for these. It was built for one of the other parts we got here. That you'll see very shortly. So I added back the drogue chutes for some reason. Again, I have no idea why I added these back. They don't ever serve a purpose. I keep cutting them. Wrong heat shield there, buddy. I don't know if I said buddy, just me. You see, we added the heat shield back, and we're adding all our science experiments back. It's a grey goo machine. I was struggling to find this one because, fun fact, the command module, the bottom half of it isn't flat. It's actually like 3D. It pushes out a bit because it's convex rather than concave. If anyone knows. I hope I'm using those words correctly. I doubt I am. I'm a bit of an idiot. Wait, you can see we're just adding all the stuff on our rocket back. There's the antenna added. There's going to be pauses here because, again, like I've mentioned, I am legitimately running out of things to say. We can see we have a much larger liquid fuel engine now, and we're going to put it to great use, especially because we now have another type of liquid fuel engine. And the other one we have is a lot stronger. However, we noticed something about this one. So this one's the swivel, and you may notice it has something called gimbal. If you look at this one, it does not. So what is gimbal? Well, gimbal is the ability of the actual engine to steer. The actual nozzle can move. But never mind that, actually. Look at that engine. Oh, it's glorious. But yeah, because that swivel has gimbal, it actually lets us move when there is no atmosphere. So, you know, very handy to have in deep space. However, we do still use the Reliant. We use it for the lower stage, which is bigger. And also, this rocket takes on a somewhat familiar appearance, I'll say that. You see us adding these two side decouplers. And if you're paying attention, you might have already guessed what those are for. I'm pretty sure everybody knows what these are for, though. They're for the the big thumper, I believe they're called. Is it the thumper? Right, let me just see. Yes, it is. The thumper. The solid rocket booster. These Goliaths will help propel us above and beyond. But you now notice this rocket is taking on a little bit of a familiar appearance, isn't it? Almost like it looks a bit like a rocket that actually existed. Wonder what that could be. I'm ticking off so many people by just not saying the name of the rocket. And honestly, I find that kind of funny, so I'm just not going to say it. But yes, that is our rocket. Isn't it glorious? You can see all of our stages are all intact. I tried to fiddle about with this a bit, but honestly, I just found it easier the way it was already set up. There was no real reason to change it. Yeah, there's no real reason to change that yet. It's a bit weird, but, you know, it's fine. But now we're going to go to the launch pad with our behemoth. Again, this isn't actually a very big rocket. This is actually really small. But will it be enough to circularize? Let's find out by blasting those two huge thumper engines. This footage is, I believe, a little sped up, but not much. You can see us moving swiftly through the atmosphere. This rocket did have a tendency to, like, veer off to the side. Again, it was just the fact that it has weird drag. It's fine. I can fight it so it stays mostly straight and doesn't, like, go careening through the air and flipping over and all that horrible nonsense. But as you can see, we're now going to stage those rocket boosters, which explode upon impact and fire up our Reliance engine. This one is the one that does not have gimbal, so we are still relying on those little ailerons to help move us through the atmosphere. And you can see I am now slowly starting to try and tip this rocket over. Very slowly. It's because I'm trying to circularize, that's why. I don't even know why I need to explain why. You know why, I'm trying to circularize. And get a perfect orbit. Well, not a perfect orbit, but an orbit around Kerbal. I don't know if this is a particularly efficient gravity turn, which is what these are. Well, it's not even a gravity turn because I'm going against. Actually, I guess it is a gravity turn because gravity turn is just turning. It's not a particularly efficient one. However, don't care. It's been years since I played this game. Give me a break. And that is true. This is actually the first time I have circularized in years. But now, with that engine staged, we now set the maneuver node. And we see Oh, there it is. A Kerbin orbit. Our periapsis has appeared. Isn't it glorious? The space music is so calming, as well as the feeling of success. Because it's a success, sorry. Cause, and all the kids cringed. But this was a very successful mission, because, well, once we warp up to Apoapsis, we will have done it. I think at this moment in time, I was just in awe of what I had managed to achieve, and I was just, like, talking to the people I was on stream with on my server, because, yes, I have a Discord server, haha, Discord moderator, lol. I know the memes, don't worry. But yes, I was on my Discord server streaming this the whole time, and I was just talking to them at this point. And you can now see us time warping up at pointed prograde. You're just gonna time warp up to that point. Very slowly. I stopped it a little bit early, and we began our circularization burn. As you can see, it was working. You can see our orbit light slowly creeping across the planet's surface. Very slowly. Until eventually... Oh. Hey! There it is. Our periapsis appears, and we are officially circularized. Ah, the sweet taste of success. A taste I am not familiar with. As you can see, I was just admiring it, and I just wanted to complete a full orbit of Kerbin. You may notice I'm being a bit quiet right now. I don't really have anything to say. Deal with it. What do you want? My voice is probably annoying you anyway. Because my microphone is awful. But, as you can see, we are very clearly doing everything properly. We're just going to open up that server hatch to conduct our experiments. Starting with the mystery goo, which we got very little science for. And we're just going to log the temperature. We got no science for that, unfortunately. But luckily for the barometer, we got a lot of science. 12 points, exactly. It's amazing. I just extended the antenna right now. We weren't going to transmit anything, I just kind of wanted to extend the antenna. But yes, we had done it. And soon it would be time to decircularize. And I believe I wanted to go up to Apoapsis to do it. I kind of missed it, but that's besides the point. So we're just going to point retrograde and start our decircularization burn. As you can see, very quickly I decircularized. I could have stopped right now, but I'll be honest, I just kind of wanted to keep going. And there we are. I believe I wanted an ocean landing. So I got one. I got one, and I got an ocean landing. Huzzah! As you can see, we are now re-entering Kerbin's atmosphere. I throttled up a little bit just to, slow us down a bit more before detaching the booster. And good timing as well, because we just entered the atmosphere. Retracting that antenna. A bit late to that one. As we are burning up in the atmosphere. The booster accelerating away ahead of us. Our heat shield was holding strong. But Jebediah, he looked uneasy. There was fear in those little googly eyes of his. But fear is nothing for a Kerbal Knot. And we would succeed. Just do like the epic voice. And we would succeed. Anyway, you're probably starting to find me annoying now, so honestly, I'm just gonna shut up for now and just let the rest of this play. You know what's gonna happen. You know how it's gonna go. Yeah, I'm just gonna shut up. Alright, I'm just going to pop back in. Because, well, it's kind of the end of the video. As we recover our final launch, we had done it! We successfully achieved a full carbon orbit. Now, you'll probably just notice me doing some dumb stuff in the background, just researching some stuff. Don't worry about it. Honestly, I've already forgotten what I got, and it doesn't really matter. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. Leave a like if you did, and maybe consider subscribing. I am a very, very itty-bitty channel, and I need money. Nah, I'm just kidding. I'll be fine without it. But that would be nice, you know, so if you would leave a little subscribey. What are you even saying? Leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.